We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
What is up, Cal fans? We are back with a big game special Redux episode. This is the Bearcast. You are in the correct place. We are a proud partner of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. My name is Andy, an Axe retainer. Alongside me is Rob, also an Axe retainer. What's happening?
The Axe stays home in its rightful place in the city of Berkeley amongst bears, which it must remain, so we could use it to chop down some trees.
Amongst friends, really.
Amongst friends. It's really about the friends you made along the way. That's really all it's about. But superb. What a day. What a day.
What a day.
What a day. I mean,
but before we get into the day, the scene, the vibes.
Yes.
We wanted to go to the day before.
Friday.
Statue reveal ceremony for the 40th anniversary of the play.
Yep.
And then, Rob, you did a good job of kind of talking about this last time and showing me like what the statue was going to look like. But overall, would love to hear your play-by-play of the unveiling.
Well, I wasn't there at the unveiling, but I did watch like some of the videos that they posted and such. And Kevin Moen was there. Roxy Bernstein did the entire emceed the entire unveiling. Some members of the 82 team were also there, and then Gary Tyrell was there, and just a festive time around that entire right around that area. Which is, if you haven't been yet or haven't seen it. There's pictures. You can find pictures all over. And they did Andy and I will talk about how good of a job they did with the statue itself. But it's right at the base of the staircase that leads up to the stadium that's right next to iHouse. What gate is that? Gate 2, I think? Or gate 4 is the one that leads up to. So great spot. It makes sense because there's the huge standing bear statue on the other side of Piedmont Ave. So perfect place to put it. I'm actually surprised that it took so long to put a statue of the play anywhere on campus. You would think that would be one of the first things they did, probably at the 25th anniversary or something like that. But I'm glad they waited until now because, with the stadium renovations that happened a few years back and just the location, perfect. You're going to see it every single time you walk by that stadium. And the design of it was great because you have the Kevin Moen jumping up into the air with the ball. There's a trombone right on the ground next to him. And then behind him is a panoramic view and a montage of the scene behind him, which I thought was really, really well done. So kudos to everyone. I mean, I said this did I say this to you? I think, and I put it out on Twitter too. Gary Tyrell is probably the only Stanford fan person that I will ever respect because he is on the opposite end of a meme joke for his entire life, right? But he's such a good sport about it. Such a good sport.
Yeah, it's really something that I think could be a life lesson for a lot of people in
Yep.
turning towards things versus turning away from them. I mean,
Yep.
so often with those type of things, he could have spent his life just running away from it. And I think on the E60 thing, Jeremy Schaap talks about that, how he could have taken the Steve Barton approach.
Yep.
And so many people do. And there wasn't, to be fair, that's a tough one-to-one comparison for Steve Barton in the sense like Gary Tyrrell didn't really do anything to ultimately impact the outcome of the game.
Yeah.
Whereas the Barton play did.
Yeah. Barton was more like the moment before the end, or like the moment before the end of the game, versus
Yes.
Tyrrell being the moment after the end of the game.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, I mean, to be at the ceremony wearing red, as much as it, made me want to vomit.
Yeah.
It was really great. It was really great. And we're better off for having him be involved. And then I loved the thing at the end of the E60 segment, which everybody should watch, by the way. The John Elway declined to comment and declined to be interviewed for this segment. Just kind of show, I mean, that's the difference right there.
Yeah.
You kind of turn your back on something like this and it just lets us say what we want. We can't say anything, we can say whatever we want about Elway, but then we can't really say anything besides positive things about Gary Tyrrell because he's turned towards it. He's been unafraid to make it and to own it.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's I mean, like, a part of me is like, I get John Elway not wanting to comment just because of his competitive nature probably, and it still hurts considering that was like, his last year and that last game, knowing the circumstances around that after watching the E60 thing about, bowl eligibility. And I didn't know like that, the number of bowls compared to what it is now was so few that it was prestigious to get to a bowl game. So yeah, all of that, it was just, I get that part. I get the competitive part, but it's like, dude, it's been 40 years.
It's been so long.
Like,
he's won Super Bowls as both a front office member and as a player. Just chill, bro.
Can't you have a little fun with it?
Yes.
Have a little fun with it, like Gary Tyrrell is. So yeah, I don't know if Gary Tyrrell will ever listen to this, but tip of the cap to that man. Absolutely tip of the cap. He was walking around the field for the entire game too, which was really cool. But yeah, that was Friday. And then, of course, the bonfire rally happened on Friday night as well. I saw some of the pictures that Avi posted and some of the videos. And, man, it was awesome. It was really cool. They finally brought, like, the fires back. Like, it's still not a bonfire per se. It's, like, fire installations. But at least there is somewhat of that, like, burning wood aspect of it that has returned. And then, the lines for the Greek Theater were out the door trying to get in. So, unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it because there was a men's basketball game scheduled at the exact same time.
Nope, don't do it, Rob. We're not talking about it. We're skipping it.
But I'm just saying, that's why I don't have any personal experience of the bonfire rally this year, just because doors open for the bonfire rally at 6. Men's basketball started at 6. So, unfortunate, but what can you do?
We're not talking about the basketball program today.
But that was Friday.
So that's Friday. Great Friday. Ceremony. Yep. Kevin Moan's there. A bunch of old ex-players are there.
Yeah. Well,
awesome speeches.
We do have to add one thing about Friday. We got the unfortunate news that Dwight Garner, the running back on the play, who has one of the best lines in that E60 documentary where they're asking him, because he's the guy who Stanford fans believe his knee was down. And they ask him, and he kind of has that like Magic Johnson, I'm not going to be here on Monday type of smirk of like, no, was my knee down? No. No. But yeah, it's unfortunately passed away after a battle with cancer. And so if you needed more motivation for the guys to come out and win this game with so many of the members of the 82 team at the game too, it just everyone wanted to pay their respects. And actually that was one of the nice parts about just the game and as a whole, because there was a lot of, I'm getting ahead of myself, but there was a lot of moments of thankfulness, and just moments of looking back, because not only Dwight Garner's passing was a big thing, but the shootings that happened at UVA and also Idaho. Like, you saw, if you didn't know, like Coach Soto, um, who coached at UVA, I think he played at UVA too. He was wearing UVA sweaters, or he was wearing a UVA sweater. I think there was a handful of college coaches that actually wore UVA stuff as they were coaching their respective games on Saturday. So it was really cool to see that, and the moment of silence and all of that, and just how unified college football can make in its community as like fans of college football and players and coaches and support staff. So just a lot of those moments, just the fragility of life, like the like being in the moment of here in this like stadium, this game that we love so much, and then also just the sheer amount of fans that were in the stadium. So yeah, we just needed to give a little bit of moment, just because there were some more heavy-hearted topics on hand over the course of the last like 72 hours ish. So
you could feel the specialness that was. I really wanted to get the win for Dwight Garner.
Yeah.
Just really felt that, and
yeah,
we'll cover that here in a second. But that's a great call out, and I think as we transition here, so we can kind of come into Saturday.
Yeah,
it is game day.
Yeah,
all of the hype is here, and I want to tell a little bit of a story that happened to me on my way. So Rob always tells me to get to the games, the tailgates, at some ungodly early hour, which I never do. And this one, I think I said on the podcast that I was going to be there 2.5 hours beforehand.
Yep.
Which I didn't quite leave on time to make that, but I didn't leave horribly late, which was great. So there was improvement there. And the big one, so I'm getting everything ready to go. I'm like, okay, I'm picking out the jersey. I got my Mackay Polk, which I always call it my Mackay Polk, not my Vic Warden. Then I grab like my sweatshirt. I'm wearing my polo to look more professional. I have everything. I get in the car, so I throw my bag into the passenger seat, pull out, hop on 580, and I'm on 580. And as I'm driving on the right side, kind of queuing up the Cal fight song, which is what I always do. I have actually an Ohio State Cal playlist from 2013. Is that right?
When they were here, or
when we were. So maybe it's 2012.
Yeah, we went there first. Yeah.
So I have it from then. I fire up the Cal fight song. It's the first song on that playlist. I look over to my left, and when I look over to my left, I see a police escort with 5 tremendous charter buses, white charter buses. And immediately I am like, I know what this is. I've been on these before. And I call you to say you'll never believe who I'm next to right now.
Yeah.
And I look over to my left and just see a bunch of players. So then I was able to really confirm, okay, this is definitely the Stanford football team. And they are. So I tell Rob this, who gets a lot of joy out of this fact. And then what I didn't tell Rob is afterwards, I'm sitting there and I'm like, what should I do?
Yeah.
I'm wearing my polo, but it's just a block C. No one's going to know that I'm a Cal fan if I have the block C. So then I was like, okay, well, I have my bag in the passenger seat. Let me open up my bag and see if I can pull out my sweatshirt.
Yeah.
Or the jersey. I was trying to think sweatshirt or jersey. At first, I was like, I am going to hang it outside of the window.
Oh, good God!
And then, I should go back. Your advice was to sabotage the entire operation and risk getting pulled over and missing my vacation to prevent Stanford from showing up for the game, which might not have been a good thing. But that was Rob's advice.
We did say we'd pay your bail.
Yes, that is true. My my backup plan was then I pulled out my sweatshirt, which is the Under Armour cursive California script.
Yep.
And I have a motorcycle cop directly in the lane left of me. No one can go in it, and then it's me.
Yeah.
And then the bus is on the left side of the motorcycle cop.
Right.
So I take the sweatshirt and I plaster it up against the window so that it spells out California. And I just cruise alongside the bus for as long as I possibly could before they had to go and switch out. They basically ended up, the motorcycle came over and cut us all off and stopped traffic so that they could merge onto 13.
Yeah, get off, yeah.
But I promised myself that some Stanford player was just gazing out, what are you doing? Yeah. Staring out to the right, being like, oh, this is an interesting drive, and then just sees this little blue CX-5 right along with this big, California. I was really happy with myself, but I don't know. We'll never know.
We'll never know, but it was a moment.
It was a moment.
It was a moment, and probably the most it was not. We couldn't think of this. We did not plan for this.
It was unscripted. I didn't know that they would take that path. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense to me that you would avoid 880.
Yeah, you'll avoid going through San Francisco. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah, so come over San Mateo or
Dumbarton.
Dublin.
Yeah.
That's not it. What did I just call it? Dublin? It's not the Dublin Bridge.
Dumbarton. Dumbarton.
I was like, that's incorrect.
That is a city.
Yes, it's a city. So, yeah, good vibes. I mean, I was fired up. Fired up after that.
Yep.
And so now I want to kind of, so I ended up showing up to 2 different tailgates. I showed up to the tailgate, the Right for California tailgate, about an hour 10 before game time.
Very late. In terms of the tailgate, because the tailgate had been going on since 10-ish. I believe they got there 9:30 and they started at 10. So in Andy wasn't late to the game, but just in retrospect of where the tailgate was, we were winding down, we were starting to clean up. Andy was late to the tailgate. There wasn't much food left for Andy as well.
Hey, I made it for
the drinking
30% of the drinking song.
You did.
That feels like a win. But I want to hear from you.
I mean, so I had our buddy Nick fly in Friday, stayed with me. His flight got delayed by multiple hours, so he actually arrived in Oakland at midnight. So I went to go pick him up, came home, knocked out. We left the house we went and got breakfast at Blackbird Diner, came back home, changed, left. That was around 9:45, 10-ish. We got to the tailgate 10:30, and just parking and then walking through to our tailgate, I was like, this feels like a lot more people than normal. It still hadn't hit me that it was a sellout, right? I needed to see it for myself before I could confirm it. So the amount of people that you saw walking around, I was like, this feels like more than usual. This feels like more than usual on any game day. And when we got to the tailgate, there wasn't that many people at first. But then that parking lot that we're in Dwinell just started to just car after car after car after tailgate setup after tailgate setup after tailgate setup. And then our tailgate, we have 2 tents and tables and stuff. It was packed. We had so many people. Usually you have space to roam around, but this was you had to squeeze past people, be like, excuse me, walking through. Rico, who, first of all, I didn't know Rico listened to our podcast. So that was a shocker. That was a shocker. Second thing is he said he was listening to our podcast last week and was like, Andy, talking about bringing his father-in-law and maybe his parents. And so he was just like, oh, he usually plans for about 30 people to come through. Now he's like, okay, add a few more. And then some other people were like, oh, bring some more people. So he's like, oh, okay, add a few more. They ended up planning for 60 people, and Rico and Steph didn't even get to eat dinner or lunch that day because everyone else, there's just that many people that showed up. And so that was great. The vibes were great. The amount of people that were coming through were great. And just getting to see a bunch of people that we hadn't seen in a while, also great. And then Sean, of course, our dear friend, the former Miami long snapper Sean McNally brings like fries and wings, and we're just chowing down. We ate so much food. Shannon, of course, bless her heart, knew she was coming to our tailgate, and so she knew I would be there. So she's an amazing baker, by the way, and she made my favorite of her pies, which is an Earl Grey pie. Oh my goodness, it is so good, so damn good. Right, 2 slices, like wasn't even any remorseful of any way that I was stealing someone else's slice. I want it. It's good. I'm gonna eat 2 slices. So that was superb. We met her dad at the tailgate last year, but we met her sister for the first time this year. And so yeah, it's just being a lot of people hanging out, and then you and I walking up to the stadium. Like that's when we fully realized, holy crap, there's a lot of people here for this game.
Yeah, I think I had that a little bit earlier because when we walked down from the tailgate that my parents usually go to is in Clark Kerr.
Yeah.
So I walked from Clark Kerr through campus, past my old fraternity, then to the stadium, then down past the statue, and then through campus again all the way to the tailgate, and it was popping. I mean, I've never seen Waring Street ever like that. There was a live band. There was a full like 4-person band playing across the street from my fraternity house, and then my house was throwing a party, and then the sorority next to us had people in the parking lot that throwing their own thing. It was just crazy. Then there were people on rooftops everywhere.
Yep.
And it was just like, it was so cool. I loved it. It was like, this is so great to see. I mean, this is what our college experience was.
Yeah.
That was it. That's kind of like what our 4 years was like. So I'm so glad that these underclassmen and students now can have this experience because it's super special. And the big question that I had was, okay, so we heard about the sellout.
Yeah.
You know, Cal Twitter put it out.
I think, was it Tuesday or Wednesday that it was a sellout?
Yeah, so they announced the sellout, and I was like, damn, is Stanford showing up with just like a ton of fans?
Yeah.
You know, I was like, maybe I was having a hard time understanding like how.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then after like some of the 40th anniversary, like 125th anniversary of the big game, 40th anniversary of the play, but Starkey's retiring. Like there's a lot going on. Great giveaway. Like they're giving away an X.
Yep.
And all these different things. It was like, okay, there's a lot that's happening here that's building up hype. But it was also, I think there's a part of it where these students have seen that if you win the big game, you get to go on the field. And I hate to say this, but I was surrounded by people that were marginally interested in the football game and were exceptionally interested in taking selfies of them at the field.
Yep.
And I actually think that a lot of people just, and it's going to sound negative, and it kind of is, so I'm going to take it as like an old man yelling at clouds, but really that like people kind of want to be there for the moment that happens, not so much for the journey. And of course, as my old man self, I'd say the journey is where all the interesting shit is. But that was definitely very apparent to me.
Yep.
When I was in the stands. But all that to say, that long diatribe aside, it ended up being like 80-20 Cal to Stanford fans.
Yep.
So like 80% of that stadium was Cal fans. And yes, they did block out those sections.
Well, those sections were blocked out prior, right? It's just they just never took off the tarp.
Yes. I mean, no, I know. But like I'm comparing to years past, so it's like Yeah. I mean, those are terrible views.
Yeah. But those are max capacity. It's max capacity to what they've set it up for this season.
And it was just awesome. It was awesome. I wanted to actually know from your perspective, because I know from being back with the team, like you can really feel a crowd like that when you're on the field.
Yeah.
And so I was curious for you, because
Yeah.
for those that don't know, Rob was on the field for this game.
Yeah, it
Were
was.
you really able to like feel the energy that the crowd had?
Yeah, so I would say early on it was just I would look around like as the game. So when the games first kicked off, I was like, "Ooh, maybe it's not a full sellout. Like maybe it's one of those sellouts where all the tickets got sold, but everyone might not show up, or like a bunch of these people just bought tickets because they thought people were going to want these and we're trying to resell them, and it just never happens because you get a bunch of those, right? So that's what I thought. But then as I kept looking at the top of the student section, that back road, right?
Yes.
And you just see just tons and tons of people just still walking left and right,
Yeah.
right? They're still walking around. So I'm like, oh, okay, they're still funneling in. And I think halfway through the first is when I was filming the game, and then I look up into the stands, and I'm like, holy crap, these sections are full, right?
Full.
North end zone, there's some space at the top. ESP seats, there were some empty seats, but I think the ESP seats were a little bit empty because some people probably were inside in like their club area, like watching things. It was kind of chilly.
It's what my parents said. I actually asked them
Yeah.
why they thought that, and they said that so many people just stay inside because it's so much colder over there. Yeah. You don't get the sun at the beginning of the game.
Right. And you're sitting in those nicer seats. They're a bit more spaced out than, sitting in RR or QQ, any of those sections where you kind of packed in a little bit more. So that's what I figured was the reasonable excuse for those sections being a little empty. But like I was like, wow, this it definitely feels like a sellout. And taking video of all the people just sitting together. As you said, just reminds me of when we were in college in 07 and 08, like just the sheer amount of people at those games. But I will say the moment it really felt like the crowd, and I felt the energy. Of course, the fourth quarter, right? The Hey Alumni chants, the "We believe that we will win" chants, the "Roll on you Bears," the noise when we scored, or Jaden Ott scored that touchdown when he made the 2-point conversion.
Chop that tree. Chop that tree.
Chop that tree. It gave me shivers. And then I think the capper to all of that is when they asked everyone to turn on their cell phone lights. Like that was the moment where I'm like looking out, and it's like I felt it felt like a concert. Just the amount of like lights that you were seeing, and I have video of it, but the video doesn't do it justice. Like it just does not. So that's probably where it was, and I'm sure the players felt it too, because there were moments where the defense would go out on the field and they would lift their hands up and down, right, trying to get the crowd into it a little bit more, and immediately they get the response from the entire stadium. Yeah. And that must have been one of those like, oh my God, this is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, moments. They didn't have it. So they didn't have that all season long, and to get that. But Femi was particularly good about every kickoff, coming into the end zone, throwing his hands up, getting our entire section, because I was in WW. Yeah, and he's getting everybody involved and getting the crowd going. Yep. I don't remember his name, but he was a part of the 1982 team. Is it
Ahmad Anderson?
Ahmad Anderson. Yeah. So the Ahmad Anderson chant.
Oh yeah.
When he came out and they said, "Hey, I'm going to lead this chant," and Ahmad Anderson comes out and does this amazing thing for Dwight Garner. Yep. And then says, let's make sure that he can hear us. Yeah. And drops the "You know it, you tell the story," which technically was out of tradition. You got to be careful with that one.
Yeah, you do.
And we also messed it up later where we were doing it before the game was over, and I was like, wow, we're really teasing. Yeah. There were a couple areas where we're teasing fate. Fans ran down to the edge of the field to get ready to jump on it before the game was like fully decided. Yep. But back to Ahmad Anderson comes out and just gives this raucous, you know it, you tell the story, you tell the whole damn world, this Bear territory. And the players, the defensive players turned around on the field because he was talking more than he was allotted. It's the longest timeout of all time.
Yep.
And they were hyped.
Yeah.
Like throwing their hands up.
Yeah.
It was super cool. Super, super cool. But there's I have a couple other things from my fan experience. Overall, I would like to say that Rallycom, while you were pleased with their Hey alumni, I was angry.
Rallycoms or the Mike Men?
I'm sorry, Mike Men. I have my own Rallycom. I spoiled the lead.
Yeah.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
They didn't do a single Hey alumni the entire first half.
Yeah.
Not one.
Yeah.
Not once did they take advantage of that crowd. I was like, what are we doing? We have a full stadium, 80% Cal fans, and we aren't doing anything. Like, we're not doing the CAL. We're not doing Hey alumni, go Bears. We're just quiet.
Well, we did do the give me a C, give me an A, give me an L. We did do that in the first half.
Oh, yeah. Okay, fine. It felt...
Yeah, it was very
little.
sporadic.
It was too little.
Yeah, it wasn't consistent enough.
It was not well organized. It was not up to my standard of organization. Secondly, the card stunt. We finally had
Enough
a
people.
full
Yep.
student section.
Yep.
So for the first time all year, maybe outside of the opener, we could do a card stunt. And let me tell you, we did not execute that thing at all.
No.
That was terrible.
Yeah.
Every person involved in that should be ashamed of themselves.
I mean, but you can't blame leadership for that one. That's just purely on like the students that are sitting in that section. Most of them don't have real experience with the cards. Like they're just playing around with them. They're like throwing them up in the air, like when there's a touchdown, and there's no real sanctity is the wrong word, but that's the only word I can think of. So I'm going to use it. But there's no sanctity to the tradition of like knowing that that's what those card stunts are for. That's what the cards are there for. There's an entire group of people dedicated to collecting all of those cards, organizing them, putting them into the right bags, putting them on the right seats. Like they do a lot of work to get that done. And it felt like a slap in the face to those guys.
Fair.
That spend hours putting those card stunts together.
Good point. And spoken like a true Rallycom member.
For 1 year.
Former member.
Yeah,
because from my side, I'm like, damn, you finally had it. But it was very clear to me, it was like, everybody got it, but like this very key 3 or 4 rows, like right in the middle, just didn't do anything the entire time. And then people just gave up and just started tossing them in the air. And it was just like, I was like, what was this?
Yeah.
What was this? Like everyone can do better. That was wild.
It was
Absolutely wild. Well, that's the scene, tailgate scene, crowd scene.
Were you talk about the game?
Let's talk about the game.
Let's talk about the game.
Do you want to read some stats first, or do you want to just jump right in the game?
I mean, I'll read the stats as they're appropriate to when we're talking about the game.
Okay. Well, since you were on the field, let's just do first half, second half.
Works for me.
What was your interpretation of the first half?
So like I came home last night, right, and I uploaded all of my video clips, and I was just walking, on my iPad, just like watching back a few of them, and I was like, man, the first half was so boring. Like regardless of what the score was, and regardless like Stanford was leading, just overall it was like it's such a boring game. It's just dropped passes, like bleeding yards, but like no electricity really. There are moments of electricity where we were like, oh, could this be something? And then it's like, nope, we're just hanging out, we're hanging out between the 20s. That's pretty much what this game felt like in the first half. And that's exactly, we're looking back at the stats right now. That's exactly what it was.
Well, a lot of yards. I felt like we were moving the ball.
That's what I mean. So like that's what I mean when it said the game was stuck between the 20s.
Yeah.
Like Stanford moved the ball, we moved the ball, but it was like from our 20 to their 20, and then from their 20 to our 20.
And the thing was, I mean, Stanford came out and executed that first drive almost flawlessly against us, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah, their running quarterback makes that huge run, and I was like, oh F.
I was like, this is a wrinkle we did not expect,
we did
and
not plan for this.
I just didn't know. I mean, it was very, and then we came back, we get the field goal, and then Stanford comes back and they kick a field goal, and then we come back and we kick another field goal. I was like, okay, well, this is more, this is what we're expecting, a field goal battle, of course, because it's Wilcox versus Shaw.
Yep.
I will say, I have my notes as the J-Mike drop in the first quarter. Pretty sure that was the end zone in the stomach drop.
Yep.
Devastating.
Yep.
Then I just wrote J-Mike drop city. Yep. That dude, something's happened. He's dropped more passes in the last 2 games than he has all season. I don't know what's going on, but there was a first down conversion, hit him in the hands, drop. The end zone play, drop. Just so many drops. It was just it was horrible. It was
11 targets, 5 catches, so 6 drops.
Well, you don't know if those are drops.
Well, I mean, usually if it means targets, then at least true. Yeah, if he thrown it away and stuff like that, but 6 incomplete passes to him. So
there were a lot of drops.
There's at least 3.
I wrote after J-Mike drop city, we are dropping everything. So that means there was another occasion where we dropped more passes and I was even more frustrated. My next note was full of Cal mistakes. And that obviously includes the Plummer play, which is just infuriating.
Yep.
But that was really the first half. The first half felt like this game could have been, this was one of those things where it was like, here we go again. Cal is clearly better. Clearly more capable, moving the ball more, been more effective the whole game. And here's the script. We're just gonna let Stanford win this thing. And I was sitting there because I don't think my mom's ever said this to me. She turned over and she said, "You seem awfully confident today." She's like, "I'm nervous, but you don't seem nervous today." And I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm not nervous. I fully expected us to win that game. I think every person I saw said it to you. I said it to Sid. Shout out to Sid. I said it to everyone. Said, I'll see you on the field.
Yep. See you on the 50.
So I had a quiet confidence because I felt like this game favored us. And then we showed why that confidence was a little bit misguided.
Yeah.
Because and the thing that we were looking for was like, okay, what is this offense going to look like with Musgrave not around? And I thought we were going to go heavy pass. And it was very interesting because Wilcox was like, yeah, they were showing us heavy run fronts, so that's why we didn't run as much in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
And then they liked the matchups that they were getting on the outside. But it was crazy because Plummer was dropping back and hitting dudes in the hands, and they just weren't catching the damn ball. It was ridiculous. Yeah. And then there's just sloppy plays. Like Latu, we threw a screen pass to the outside. Latu just gets beat. Dude, Latu's 6'6". And he's getting beat by his DB on a block. The guy just ran around him. And we just weren't executing well, which is just so interesting because I feel like Wilcox is such a big proponent of execution. It's amazing that we have such a hard time with it. And so the end of the first half, the merciless end, obviously the Plummer play where that's just a very dumb play. I don't even know what he's looking at. I mean, I kind of understood it, like get the dude on the outside, like, but like I can understand what he's looking at, but like the idea that he would throw it in that situation is just truly, that's like college football in a nutshell. You don't see that in the NFL. You don't make that throw, obviously, unless you're like freaking Mahomes, who like would throw it around his back and it would be a touchdown. But like if you're not Patrick Mahomes, you don't throw that damn football.
Yeah, I think the 2 interceptions were ill-advised. I think they were both off his back foot. I can't tell if he was just trying to chuck it away and just didn't get enough air on it, or if he was actually trying to go for those passes. But I think you're spot on. The execution of the plays was the issue. I didn't actually have an issue with the actual play calling and the menu of plays that we were using this week. The first play out of the gate was that little like tip shovel thing to Maven, just some misdirection stuff. I thought was great. We utilized a lot of the quick slants, which was also great. We looked for the deep ball once they got those matchups. Looked great. Like I didn't have an issue of what we were calling when we were calling it. We used a lot of pitches to Ott, which I've been calling for this entire season, because clearly our offensive line is not good enough to get him the holes in between the tackles. So why aren't we getting him out in space with our athletic offensive line? Like pull a guard, right? Run power to the one side and let him run around the outside, right? So it was nice to see that. It was nice to see all of those motions. It was nice to see the deep balls constantly getting called and just getting our wide receivers a chance to make plays. It's just that they didn't make those plays. I'm getting ahead of myself again here, but the UCLA game gets very interesting now. Because if our if the offensive play calling works like it did against Stanford, but we start completing those passes, it's a drastically different looking efficient offense come next week, right? And those drops are fixable. Like the play calling issues clearly weren't fixable, but now it looks like, at least for the rest of the season, it could be fixed for another game. So, but all in all, like the game itself, I got a text message from a buddy of mine because I was talking to him about the game, and he goes, they had us for the first 3 quarters. And I was like, that's probably the best assessment of it. They had us for the first 3 quarters, and then they sat on the lead, and then we had some luck go our way with the scoop and score. Like just the second bounce off of, I think Irby had it first, right? And then the second bounce just straight up into Sermon's arms, and Sermon doesn't even lose a step in his pace and is just off to the races with Daniel Scott right behind him blocking to see if there's anyone else he needed to block.
You've had Wendy's nugs dipped in sauce, but have you had them covered in sauce? Wendy's new saucy nugs take the crispy and spicy nugs you love and turn them up to 11. Choose between flavors like buffalo or honey barbecue, garlic parm, or if you're a real heat seeker out there, you can try spicy ghost pepper, only on Wendy's signature spicy nugs. Listen, I'm going to dare you to do it. I dare you. That's 7 delicious ways to try the nugs that you already love. Pick a flavor, grab some extra napkins, and then grab a few more napkins and prepare to nug like you've never nugged before. For a whole new way to nug, it's got to be Wendy's at participating U.S. Wendy's.
And so stroke of luck helps us, and then we close it out, and the weird touchdown that not a touchdown that turned into a touchdown. Like we had no idea if that odd touchdown was actually a touchdown. And then the scoreboard changed, and then we thought they were kicking the field goal, but it was actually a PAT team that was out there. Like that
was so weird.
And we lost like the entire, because imagine just the celebration that would have occurred if we had actually gotten that called as a touchdown. But like we got none of that. None of that.
It was so odd. Yeah, everyone was waiting for. Well, okay, all right. We're now in the second half.
Okay.
So one thing I wanted to say before that was that Jermaine Terry, what we were doing with Terry this game that I saw for what we've been asking for a long time, was bringing in Terry to block.
Yeah.
So we would send him out wide, and then we would bring him in as an extra blocker. It was working really well. Like Plummer actually had time.
Yep.
And Plummer with time is usually a good thing. So
yep.
That was really cool. I was super excited to see that. And then
Oh, sorry. Can I add one thing? The one thing we talked about on the phone that I just remembered was it was those formation sets where we had Terry and like one of the wideouts stacked with like Terry in front, and so either he's laying the block immediately after the snap, or he's going out on like a shorter route and maybe chipping a linebacker, and then you have the wide receiver. I thought that motion and that action and that worked really well. So just wanted to note that since we were talking about Terry being lined up outside.
So exactly, and I think that's a great call out. But with all that being said, it was 17 to 6.
Yep.
Going into the fourth.
Yep.
And we really didn't have much going for us until we were able to finally get that drive. So I mean, we finally get that drive going downfield. We get the touchdown to Monroe Young. And we got that drive. That drive was really built behind the run.
Yep.
And that was like so grateful to see the focus on the run finally and just like committing to it. I wanted us to just commit to the run, even if it was like a stacked box, just like commit to it. And
that end of the third really helped us because that to set up that touchdown drive, like we stopped them on their own, if I'm looking at the stats right, on their own 17, and then it was a net 30-yard punt.
Yes.
So we started on the Stanford 47, which was huge for us.
Well, that was huge. And then what was crazy is like I think it was the drive before that. It's like Ashton Davis, like after Stanford scored their touchdown. Sorry.
Ashton Davis.
Ashton Hayes.
Yeah.
Ashton Hayes had this great return.
Yeah.
And then we're like, couldn't have been set up any better. Then we had a 15-yard unsportsmanlike face mask after the Ashton Hayes return.
Yep.
So we were like already in Stanford field position. I'm not going to say who. I'll say their number because their number was called a lot in this game. Number 60, after a 6-yard run from Jaden Ott, gets a unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. Just mind-blowingly stupid. Mind-blowingly stupid. And puts us out and we had to punt the ball.
Yep.
Like that was so big because that was a situation that was really interesting too because like you needed 3.
Yeah.
Because if you got 3, you're down 8.
Yep.
So not only was it the dumbest penalty of all time, but it was also very frustrating not to see us make more of an attempt on like an underplay. I think in that long third down, I thought we would clearly do that, knowing that, hey, if we got it within a score, we got it within 8, it's like a 1-score game and it kind of like amps up the pressure again. We didn't. We went for a first on like third and whatever, like 3rd and 16, and we didn't get it.
Yep.
It was super frustrating. It was very frustrating. I mean, I think like it was almost like, I'd say to one degree they outplayed us for 3. The flip side of that is I really felt like we were outplaying them, but we were just handing it back. Like we were executing better. We were clearly showcasing more talent, but like in the actual how the game was going, we just weren't taking advantage of the opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, we weren't running the ball well for the entire first 3 quarters, but our pass game had opened up where we were getting one-on-one opportunities. And as you talked about, it was drop city. And like I butterfly effect here, but I think if we make at least half of those catches like that were drops in the first half, if at least half of those turned into catches, like we probably would have been up by at least 14 or at least 10, right? I don't think that it would have come this close. So once again, that harkens back to the point that I was talking about, which is the offensive game plan worked. Whatever they self-scouted and figured out, like, okay, this is where our best players are. This is who gives us the best opportunity to win. We feel like we can win those matchups. And clearly they were because they looked for it.
And I think one of the other things that happened too, which is kind of like the unsung part of this game, there's 2 things. One, I wanted to highlight that Jeremiah Irby had like, is it Irby or Irby?
Irby, I think.
Irby had a vastly different second half than first half.
Yeah, he had 3 or 4 pass breakups by the stats.
And like he was getting beat. And I think he would like say that it was easy for me to see. It's like he was getting beat And like there was a third down play that was done to the outside. The Stanford receiver ran her out, and like he played way off of him, and they converted first down on him, and he was upset, like slapping his hands. And like there were just a couple of plays where I was like, oh man, that was on again. You know, I was like, oh, all right.
True freshman mistakes.
Yeah. And then second half lockdown, just better and better and better. And then one of those like key pass breakups when he was 1-on-1. And he just made that huge play, and Wilcox shouted him out for it in the presser. Like that was a huge play in the game. But so that's the first piece. But the second piece is the Cal defense just starts. It's like it went confidence to more confidence to more confidence to they're not going anywhere. Like it just like built, and it was like this team's not doing anything against us. To the point at the end where it was like defense on the field just really felt like the old Cal defenses, where it was like just ridiculous amount of confidence and swagger. Like this wasn't gonna happen for Stanford. So that really sets up the fourth. And I agree, like that play, a lot of people were, I think, trying to say, oh yeah, it was like the play. And I was like, well, not really, but you know, it was a wild play because Daniel Scott forces the fumble.
Yep.
Irby picks it up, tries to turn.
Yep. Loses it.
The guy that fumbled it comes and just knocks it right out. And then, as you said, just pops right up into Jackson Sirmon's arms as if it was like a gift from Dwight Garner himself. And sprints into the end zone, and it was bedlam. That was amazing. We had the lead, the whole place, the entire attitude of that stadium changed.
Yep.
It was like, hold on now. Cal has the lead. Cal might actually win this game. And it was really from there on out that I felt like, I mean, and then so you have that drive where now Cal's driving downfield. Jaden is coming alive, right? 97 second half yards, 0 first half yards.
Yeah.
Jaden's coming alive.
We also need to note that Sirmon touchdown happened with still 10 minutes left in the fourth. And we were only up 3.
Correct.
With 10 minutes left in the fourth. So there was still plenty of time.
Defense confidence too high.
Yeah.
Wasn't going to happen. We get the ball back. We're driving down. Now it's about putting this game away.
Yep.
We're driving down, at least getting 3. Because if I did anything, I read the Right for California article from the Stanford guy that was like, our kicker's nice. He doesn't miss, and he's got all country potential. Like
which we saw.
Which we ended up seeing. So I turned to my dad, and I'm like, we can't be within 3.
Yeah.
Number one, we have to make it 6. And what do? Well, we get down there and we throw it up to Monroe Young in the end zone. Why? I have no idea. I personally saw Monroe Young. I think he overran a pass earlier. I don't know. Where Plummer was putting the ball and where Monroe Young ended up being were 2 very different places. And a lot of the times we blame the quarterback for that. And we don't really look at the wide receiver and say, what were you doing? But I found myself looking at the wide receiver and being like, what exactly were you doing on that play? Because there's no reason why like that ball you could have made a play on that ball, but he let the defender make that play. I think you could. There is a world in which you could make the case on that throw in the end zone that I understand. The ball should have been to the outside. If you throw the ball to the outside of Monroe Young to the actual corner, it's a touchdown.
Yeah,
because he can then play the defender off and he's the only one that has the path to the ball.
Right.
But he also could have contested that damn throw. I don't know, man. I just felt like there were some opportunities that left me wanting more. And I was super stoked that, he did end up getting that touchdown. And, I think he's a 5th year. So it was a big day for him. And it ultimately didn't matter. But that at the time, I was like, wow, once again, here we are. We're going to give the ball back. We're going to give it back to Stanford. And, you just don't know what's going to happen. It's a big game. So, yeah, it felt like the momentum shifted, but it's a big game. You can't count on anything. You hand a team like that the ball, and then it just became very clear. And then the last thing I wrote down on my phone was, I love Daniel Scott. That's it. And I mean, I think if there's, dude, like, I think, from the eye test, which means nothing, I realize, I hope he plays on Sundays. I think he will.
I think he'll play on Sundays.
He's incredible. There's so many games. I just think he has that ability to just like make the play in the biggest moments. And he's not afraid of the moment. He's not too big for the moment. And that dude just makes plays. That interception, she almost took back for a touchdown.
Yep.
Yeah, it really sealed the game and allowed us to kind of breathe. And it was awesome. Absolutely awesome.
So as you're talking there, I went back through my clips that I recorded and I watched the Monroe Young, that pick that you're talking about. And I just needed to rewatch it because I just wanted to make sure my memory was correct. So if you rewatch that play and you watch the quarterback, I think it was just there was a lot of things that compounded, right? I think Monroe Young, there was an adjustment from the previous time where he underran the route. And so he was compensating that Jack was probably going to throw in front of him, so he was running a little bit ahead of the defender. But if you go back and watch Jack too, right as he's about to step into the throw, there's a Stanford defensive lineman in his face. So he kind of jumps up and, like, as he's leaning back, like, just throws it with the arm. And I think that took away a lot of the momentum of the ball that he would have put on it if he was able to at least plant that front foot. It definitely looks like, because if I'm not watching it in slow-mo, which I probably could, but in real time, like, he jumps up and then he lands on that back foot and then he chucks it. The front foot is still up in the air. So once again, that probably took out he's throwing it with purely his shoulder, like, and hips. He's not throwing with his body and being able to launch that ball where he wants it to. So that compounded with, the adjustment that they probably made, on the sideline together, just all in all made it into that interception. So I don't know if I can put it. I can't pin it on either guy. It was just the circumstances of the moment dictated that that's probably what happened.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. That's a good reconciliation, if you will. I think it was just tough. I think, like, I was like, why are we even taking that shot? We just really didn't need it.
Yeah, because you started to feel in your stomach, right, where you were like, all right, if we can just get points here, I'm feeling real good about the end of the game. Real good about the end of the game. But then the interception happens and you're like, oh God, we're going to lose this, aren't we?
Yeah, it's like, and we were running the ball so well. I just keep running. Like, there was no reason to, like, drop back and take an end zone shot. Like, there really wasn't. Just keep running the football. And, we had the ball a lot. Like, it wasn't like Stanford's defense was getting off the field. Offense was coming on, going 3 and out. We were getting the ball back. And it's like going 3 and out, getting the ball back. Turnover, get the ball back. And it just Stanford's defense was out there for a long, long time. And we've been on the opposite side of that.
Yeah.
When our defense starts to get worn down from our offense's own ineptitude. And it didn't seem like we had the awareness. And then we finally got there, but it just was frustrating. I think that was pretty frustrating that we took that shot, we gave it back. And that could have been the story of this game. Yeah. Which is Cal had 18 different ways to win it, but chose to sort of not to. And I think someone said, like, I don't know. I forget what the phrase is. Snatching victory from the claws, snatching defeat from the claws of victory. Like, whatever it is, it's like one of those. But it was it was tough.
It was close to. Both teams had close to. I mean, Stanford had 400 yards. We had 393 yards of offense. Like that alone just shows you that the ball kept going back and forth. Like, fourth down conversions, we were 4-14. They were 4-15. Right? It wasn't so drastic.
Like, equally futile.
Yeah, equally. But I think that's why, because we knew that Stanford had, like, injury issues, right, across their defense. So I think that added with this game, or ultimately it was a war of attrition, and ultimately they started to feel the effects of being worn down. But our defense still felt spry because compared to other games, our defense was off the field for a longer amount of time because we were moving the ball down to their 45 and then having to punt, or down to their 30 going on 4th down and losing it.
Dude, that's such an amazing point. I mean, I honestly feel like that was so redeeming from what we have been talking about on this podcast.
Yeah.
Right? We were talking about the offense. It's like, you cannot be an offense that cannot get a single first down. It didn't matter that we weren't scoring touchdowns. It just mattered that we were allowing our defense the chance to rest. And then what happens? Well, defense comes out and makes a play. And then our defense came out and was well rested. We saw it, and it mattered. We just was like, and that's what Jack Plummer said too. He's like, it wasn't like we were going 3 and out.
Yeah.
He's like, we were getting chunk yards, and then we just weren't finishing. Yeah. And what a difference that is. That's a huge difference. And yes, I think Stanford's pretty bad. Obviously, if we lost or if we beat them, then they're pretty bad.
Yeah.
But I also think that it took. I think it really. It was nice to see our offense operate that way after not seeing it operate that way for literally the entire season.
Yeah. It very much felt like the adjustments were made within the confines of our offensive setup right now, right? Because we talked about this last week, right? Look, you're not changing the complexion of the offense. You're not changing the playbook. You're working with what you have, but you're figuring out what can we maximize and to be efficient with the players and the playbook that we currently have. And it's clear that they adjusted that playbook to what it is right now. And so, you look at the yard per play, we had 6 average gain per play for us was 6 yards. That's huge. That's 2 plays and a first down. We converted 4 of 14, but that's because we were converting first downs on a lot of second downs.
And we dropped a lot of third downs.
Yeah, 4 and 14. But, that's kind of where we were. So that was where the game was. That was where the game was won. Our offense was efficient enough to give our defense time to rest, for them to play, and ultimately get the 2 plays that needed us to win. I think that's it, right?
I think that's it.
That's a good spot to talk about and talking about the game. But before we move on to questions and the end of the game, we did want to give a little special shout out to Home Field, because Home Field is doing a super cool sale for Black Friday. Andy and I both own Home Field goods. We actually did a special launch. Right for California did a special launch with them when they launched the Cal line last year. But this year they're doing a Black Friday sale, which already started on the 18th. And so you can go to the website, 20% off their entire site if you use the code Black Friday. If you miss it, because it ends on the 27th, then on the 28th and 29th, they have a Cyber Monday sale, which is also 20% off your entire purchase. And all you got to do is use the code Cyber Monday. But Andy, I know you're going to buy some stuff for your parents for the stuff, but if no one's bought stuff from Home Field, which we call the good brand, what is your pitch to them in how good the material is and how cool the clothes are?
I have so many Home Field things. I love those shirts. I wear them all the time. I think they are super comfortable.
It's like those shirts that you've worn for 10 years, right?
Yeah.
It feels like that material where it's worn down and
outrageous. And then that sweatshirt that Terrence was wearing, I love that sweatshirt. Yeah. And I have that. I rock their stuff all the time. I have I'm not even kidding. I think I have 5 Home Field apparel shirts. So do yourself a favor this holiday season. And I'm getting my parents Northwestern stuff. And they don't listen to the pod, so they're not going to know. But yeah, I can't wait. I'm going to use the 20% off. I'm going to get them the Northwestern gears. Sick. So I'm going to get them that, and I'm going to hopefully win Christmas.
Yeah. So once again, you can check the code on Right for California, but also it's Black Friday for 20% off until the 27th. And Cyber Monday on the 28th and 29th. Same deal, 20% off the entire site. So there's that. But before we move, or now we're going to move into the end of the game and fan questions. So, Andy, give me a brief primer on how you felt when we were rushing the field after that win.
Well, circumstances being what they were, in that I had a trip to an island on the west coast of the country, or a state, I should say. I did not find myself running down. I was like, I'm gonna hang out at the top, like take some pictures of, and then I took a time lapse, which I haven't even watched yet. But I took a time lapse of everybody running on the field. I thought that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I have video of people jumping the wall.
Hey, props to anyone that can do that. They are
That wall, and so that's what the security guys were saying. They were like telling people like, don't jump down. It's a lot farther than you think, and you won't realize how far of a drop that is until you're in the air and it's too late to change.
Yeah, it's a big drop. I wouldn't do it at this age.
No.
I saw some people do it, and it's that hurts the knees.
Dude, there were multiple injuries. Nick saw a girl whose like foot was twisted in the opposite direction.
What?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, there was apparently like someone with a dislocated shoulder. There was another one
What?
with a dislocated knee, like all jumping off of the wall.
No way.
Yeah. So the EMTs had a really tough
There was like
time
ton of
after the game was
ambulances.
over.
Wow.
Which sucks for them because they're like sitting there the entire game, and then all of a sudden, like they're like, okay, I guess it was an uneventful game. No one got hurt. No players got hurt. It's time to go home. And then all of a sudden, all of this goes. So
That's ridiculous. That's unfortunate. I would hate to contribute to their
work day.
work day. Yeah. I liked it's just, they got to change that rule. The rule of like the 1 minute, they're announcing it in the stadium over and over again. Please wait 1 minute before going on the field. Please, like 1 minute. You know how long a minute is?
Yeah.
1 minute? Like no one's going to wait a minute.
Yeah.
A minute? Like that is from the point in which the game ends, you are asking people to stay there for 60 seconds. And I would look at it, every 5 of those seconds are probably like an actual 5-minute wait. So
Yeah.
it's like, there's no chance. You can maybe say wait 20 seconds. And I think that's a stretch.
We know why they're asking to do that.
It saves them money. Yeah.
No, not only that, but it's like, players want to greet each other like across the ways, and you want the away team to get out because you don't want any fights breaking out with the away team. And
yep. For sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
I think why they're doing it is right, but there needs to be some more research into, can we make this a little bit better and more efficient for everybody?
Yes.
But yeah, that was the end of the game, and then we walked out, and that's all she wrote. The axe was retained. We went home happy, jovial, and I called Andy, and we chatted on the phone for like 15 minutes before we all went our ways.
It was great. It was great. I got a picture with Jermaine Terry.
You did get a picture with Jermaine Terry. Yep.
With my father-in-law, Carlos. It was awesome. He was so nice. He was signing autographs. Got a picture.
I highly recommend going to see Jack Plummer's selfie that he took. If you haven't seen that on Twitter, he took someone's phone and took a selfie like up. He was on someone's shoulders, so it's him, and then the entire background is just all people.
Wow,
all people's heads. I highly recommend going to taking a look at that. It's on his Twitter page. But we have a couple questions, so I think it's a good way to wrap up our show with. This was so if you didn't get your questions in on time, I'm sorry. We weren't planning on recording today, but since Andy is leaving the state for the holidays, like we wanted to get it done on Sunday. So there you go. Got to Joe Kenyon here. Hey, nice meeting you yesterday. Yeah, that was really cool. Joe Kenyon actually, someone came up to me and was like, hey, I can't remember exactly what he said, but he just like dapped me up, and he was like, oh, I'm Joe Kenyon. And I was like, oh, nice to meet you, man. And so he recognized me. And so he said, hey, nice meeting you yesterday. And I talked a lot of trash about UA, but they have been releasing some beautiful uniforms. The big game design might be my favorite uni of all time. What are your thoughts about these new releases? I'm pretty sure a lot of these were in the works for quite some time. I'm like the big game stuff with 40th anniversary, 125th. It just made sense that they had already been planning for this for years. And the culmination of it just sucks that it's the year that they're like closing out their contract with us. But I mean, they were beautiful. Beautiful.
I think I had like 6 different occasions where I turned to my right and was like, "Have you guys seen how dope these helmets are?" The whole uniform was so clean. I was like, "This is amazing."
I mean, the biggest thing I think you and I both love is that little logo of the axe.
Yep.
Oh, good God. I tweeted it out. I'm like, who can I talk to just get that patch?
I saw.
I don't need the jersey. Just give me the patch. Like, I just want to be able to put it like on a hat or like on my backpack. It's so well designed. It's such a clean, simple design.
It was so sick. I love the jerseys. I would wear them once a year at least.
Yeah. Whoever our next apparel person is, I hope
Take note.
Take note. Take note, please. And then of course our dear friend Sid, who we saw, yeah, any little fist raise because you can't see it on the screen.
I didn't know you kind of set it up. You're like, oh, we didn't tell people we're recording today. I was like, did Sid get it in? I didn't know.
She got it in. I was 95% sure we were going to lose, but so happy we won. Do you think at any point Wilcox should have put in Kai Milner? If so, at what point during the game would you have put him in the game? Ooh, that's a very good question. I think if we had gotten the ball back to end, I think I would have given him the opportunity to maybe go in there and maybe take at least one of the knees, just so he gets the feel for what it's like being a quarterback in the big game. But circumstances didn't dictate that because they had the ball back. Was like 58 seconds left, and they started pushing, and you knew that we weren't going to get the ball back. You definitely couldn't put him in on the drive before. So, but I do wish they ran the Stanford guys ran that a couple of plays for their running quarterback. I kind of wish we had a couple of plays to get Kai in just to get a different look in. They didn't do that. Maybe we get that against UCLA. But overall, yeah, there just wasn't an opportunity to if you weren't setting up design plays for him.
It's exactly how I felt. Yeah. Wish I would have seen him used in, the same way Stanford was using their mobile quarterback.
Yep.
Thought there was an opportunity there to show some different looks, but didn't happen. Interesting thing of note was that Plummer ran out on senior day.
Yep. Well, I mean, he is by year. This is his senior year.
Yeah, but I mean, did you see him get asked about it?
Oh, I didn't. What did he say?
Well, he said he didn't really know. He was like, he wanted to do it just in case.
Yeah.
So it was not an answer of like, it's interesting. Yeah. I think that we'll have to watch that to see if he's coming back or not.
It's a very heavy quarterback draft class.
Yeah, very, but with no real standouts, correct?
Well, I mean, like Bryce Young, CJ Stroud. It's very top heavy. There's a lot of guys that are going to go in the first round, but yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe getting another offensive coordinator, learning another offense. Just he doesn't want to do it. He wants to just try and test it in the next level, which I totally understand too. So
I could see him end up. I feel like he has the pro mold.
He does. Yep. If you can get an offensive line to somewhat stop the pass rush against for him, he's got the arm to play in the next level.
Got the arm for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely got the arm. But yeah, that wraps it up for us here on the Golden Bear Cast. I guess I'll plug one thing is all the stuff I recorded, I'll be editing this week. Hopefully I'll have a video up by Tuesday if I get enough time to work on it tomorrow. But there's some really cool clips in there. I can't wait for people to see it. There is a teaser clip up on my Twitter account with Jaden Ott's 2-point conversion, which it was funny because I tweeted it out this morning, and the caption I put on it, it's 2-point conversion is good. Let's go swimming, because that was his celebration. He quote tweeted it, and it's in it like a swimsuit.
In there like swimwear.
In there like swimwear. Damn it, I messed that up.
The Rod Benson line.
It is, yeah.
From Boom Got Them, though, which is an old school throwback to anyone that follows Rod Benson. That is
that video will be up shortly. There's I'll spoil one more thing. There's a really cool clip in there before the players came out. They did the seniors run out, right? And the players are in the tunnel. They're getting ready to come out. And Jaden Ott is at the front with a boom box, holding it up. And they're playing a song, and they're all jumping up and down, dancing to it. And so that was the moment for me where I'm like, this what I see right here, as long as we win today, for me is enough to think that Jaden's not leaving. Like, a lot of people keep pushing that narrative of like Jaden's probably like going elsewhere, moving on to a better team, but nah, I think he likes it here. If he's leading the team out, I think that's a big enough tell for me. But that's another pod for another day.
Yes, it is.
But yeah, you can find us on Golden Bearcast on Twitter. You can email us, goldenbearcast@gmail.com. You can find all our written stuff at rightforcalifornia.com. There is a ton of content going up this week. So I highly recommend you stay tuned because, of course, who would want to read about Cal retaining the Axe for the third time in 4 years? This time back to back. The Axe stays in Berkeley. So yeah, stay tuned for that once again. And with all this Twitter news too. If you want to subscribe to Right for California, please do. That gives you access to our private Discord for all our subscribers. Super fun. We're always in there talking football, basketball, athletics, pro sports, like anything and everything. That Discord has been my joy for like the last month or so. So get in there if you want to. You don't have to, but just wanted to plug that just because Twitter seems to look like it's on its way down. But in the meantime, that's it for us on the Golden Bearcast. And as always, go Bears.
Go Bears.